Disclaimer: I am just a humble Genshin Impact fan. I do not own any of the rights to Genshin Impact, or any of the content within it, such as the lore books. Those specifically belong to Hoyoverse. What I do have, however, are friends with things like learning disabilities, such as dyslexia and ADHD, or very little free time, making reading the lore books either in-game or on wiki pages hard for them. Our solution to these problems has been for me to make these recordings so that they can listen to them and still get to enjoy Genshin lore like the rest of us. I have chosen to upload these recordings to YouTube as a way of sharing them with other fans within the community who might be in similar situations. I am admittedly no voice actress, trained narrator, or video editor, but I have tried my best, so please be gentle with me. Therefore, without further ado, let's get into today's story. Perinheri. This text is also known as Hleobranto Innamorato. The author of the first edition claims to have based this tale on a legendary story known throughout Khaenri'ah, but there are none left who can verify this. It is an anthological work produced over several generations at this point. Volume 1. Solbehubel at the Court of Fontaine. This is a story from the very ancient times indeed. It is said that in those days, birds had not yet split into domestic and wild kindreds. In those days, a crimson moon shone down upon the subterranean realm, and not the dark sun of latter days. Due to the kingdom's unique position, things from outside this world were always leaking into it. The kingdom's weapons would wipe out the calamity slipping in, but what of all the other objects, such as, say, a child who may have come from some destroyed world? One of the sages spoke thusly to the great ruler. "O High Lord of Nobles, a child once told me a tale of another world. Once upon a time, there were sea people who believed that the gods came from the sea. Each time they discovered a shipwrecked person, they would treat them with the utmost honor, for they believed that the gods would take the form of the shipwreck to investigate the mortal realm." The ruler replied, "I do not perceive your meaning, so do as you please." Naturally, no oceans in the traditional sense lay within the kingdom's borders. The earliest founders of the kingdom had once seen the majestic silhouettes of the mountains blur under the sun's searing glare, and the rippling reflections of the moonlight falling upon the sea's surface like a scattering of pearls. But at the time the story took place, only outsiders and those few who had left the kingdom on official duties and returned could describe such sights to the ruler. The ocean and the sea were often used as a metaphor for the space projected by the stars. In anticipation of the arrival at their kingdom of gods from beyond the so-called ocean, or rather the arrival of beings who could transcend the gods, they founded an organization, an orphanage to take care of such children. In latter days, the orphans of the kingdom and those who wandered in from outside were accepted as well. The young Perinheri's first memory was that of being asked by the grown-ups to crawl through a dark corridor. This passage might have been a chimney for winter fires, for it was filled with coal ash, and there was not a single crack in it through which smoke or light could pass through. As he crawled, he would sometimes stumble in the pitch-black darkness. Fortunately, the corridor appeared designed for the passage of children in the first place, so the falls were not very painful. It also lacked any annoying cobwebs. When Perinheri reached the end at last, the exit had not opened yet. He knocked, only for the grown-ups to coldly ask, "Are you dead?" Well, how was he to reply if he was dead? But the grown-ups did not like this response. They kept asking the same question until he at least shouted, "Yes, I'm dead." The adults then asked, "Did you see it then?" Perhaps it was the fear brought on by the darkness, combined with hunger and exhaustion, but Perinheri did indeed see an illusion. The crimson moon hanging in the pitch-dark night sky suddenly turned around, revealing itself to be a titanic, horrified eye. The adults opened the door and embraced the soot-covered Perinheri. "You have traversed the fire of 2 worlds within the hearth, and here you are reborn." Though the crimson moon set, and the dark sun descended into yet a darker dusk, that transcendental person from beyond, who the kingdom orphanage was awaiting, never arrived. But unusual individuals they had aplenty, and many of those who strode forth from the gates of that orphanage became great knights of the kingdom. Perinheri was, in his time, the leading figure amongst their ranks, that is, unless he were forced to compete with his best friend Hleobranto. They should have competed for glory and decided who was superior through the amount of honors they crowned themselves in, and the number of goblets of fine wine down during the festivities afterward, but for some reason, their rivalry would take a mortal turn. Volume 2. Solbay Hubel at the Court of Fontaine. That day, the orphanage welcomed a new member. She was a beautiful young lady from a foreign land who claimed to be a noble princess. Her nation had been defeated by Deus Ori, and yet the daughter of a priestly line she remained, and would not submit to the new god, so she had drifted, wandering through the gates of their kingdom. She called herself Angelica, meaning one who is as a divine emissary. Fair Angelica declared that she would only marry the mightiest knight in all the kingdom. Perinheri cared not a whit, but Hleobranto was smitten with her. Angelica would often take walks near the Sea of Wells, and there she spoke much of the outside world to Hleobranto. Perinheri would come along out of concern for his friend, but because suspicion was born in him sooner than curiosity, he would doubt her every word, yet wished that he might see these things one day. Angelica's arrival changed Hleobranto altogether. He would cause trouble, looking for any provocation upon which to stake a duel against other knights. He would win all these bouts and turn to Angelica to show off his prowess. Yet all she ever gave him was a cool smile, for what great feat was it for a great runner if they raced a tortoise and triumphed? Njord, who walks with the dark sprites, Elf, the greatest warrior in all the Universitas Magistrorum, Albright, commander of half the knights, and Perinheri, the undefeated. Angelica spoke thus of the mightiest figures in the kingdom as she saw them. Having fallen head over heels into the throes of love, Hleobranto came to what was an all too reasonable conclusion for himself. People might call him a traitor, or believe him mad, but even so, he had to wish to hurt Perinheri. As for Perinheri, he believed that his best friend's madness would be cured, if only he could kill Angelica. In the midst of that most merciless of pursuits, the three left the kingdom's borders. At that very moment, Hleobranto clutched his face, and the words escaping his mouth gradually grew more like the howling of a wild beast. The witch, Angelica, explained thus: Hleobranto is the descendant of those who forsook their god and came to the kingdom. This is why the kingdom's obstinately pure-blooded aristocracy persists. This is the price of betraying your own god. As for you, Perinheri, you were one who drifted there. Thus you bear no such curse. You may not have the nobility to shoulder a world, but you too have your own destiny. As for me, I betrayed no one, not for a moment, until my god died, so I too bear this curse not. But you now see who I truly am, yes? The sun rose over the horizon at that moment, and Perinheri's blade slipped from his fingers, exhausted from the night-long battle. Covering his forehead with the back of his hand, he looked upon the sun for the first time. And when he glanced back at Angelica, he saw that she was neither a beautiful woman from Liyue, nor a wicked witch. I am freedom, that which has been broken free of fate. That is what Hleobranto sought in agony, but that which is now yours for the taking. There was nothing before Perinheri, only vast, empty land. Note 1. Note that the ancient people of Liyue did not use such names. Now that I consider it, her name may have been Lady Miaowen, Lady of Wondrous Sound, or Tianwang Nu, Servant of Tianwang. Note 2. The Black Wolves of the first edition. Archaeological work on Khaenri'ah indicates that this must have been a type of war beast created using alchemy. Alchemy and the Beastmaster Knights were a mainstay during the Crimson Moon Dynasty, but interest in mechanical engineering during the Eclipse Dynasty would cause it to fall behind. Special thanks goes to Mr. Denon's archaeological studies into Khaenri'ah, which inspired this work, first edition. Mr. Jean Fijac's continued writings and refinements which have given this story its ending, second edition. Mrs. Jean Fijac and Mr. Jean Fijac Fields for their corrections of missed typos, third edition. A compilation of Carl Ingold's records from Investigations into an Abandoned City, 13th edition. Mr. Kurosawa's Assistance in Natural History and Miscellaneous Studies, 14th edition. Mr. Yun's Notes on Liyue Culture, 15th edition. Other information. The references to Crimson Moon and Dark Sun in Volume 1 may refer to the two known Khaenri'ah dynasties, the Crimson Moon Dynasty and the Eclipse Dynasty. In the original Chinese, eclipse is literally black sun. Using this interpretation, the volume's final section suggests that the change in dynasties occurred by the time Perinheri became one of the best knights in the kingdom. The story about the orphanage may be related to the House of the Hearth's origins. While the present-day House of the Hearth is run by the Fatui's co-founder Piero is a former Khaenri'ah royal mage. Khaenri'ah's anticipated arrival of beings who could transcend the gods ties into the revelations from the Archon quest, A Toast to Victory. In Chapter 3, Act 5, Akasha pulses, the Kalpata flame rises, the traveller is revealed to be a descendant, while their sibling is not. This reasoning is explained further in Chapter 3, Act 6, Carabare, where when the sibling appeared in Khaenri'ah 500 years ago, they were believed to be a descender. Only, disaster befell the nation as the cataclysm caused Khaenri'ah's destruction, first at the hands of monsters, then years later at the hands of the gods. The Mr. Kurosawa mentioned in Volume 2's Special Thanks may have been Eiichi Kurosawa. He was a member of the Natsunkreuz Ordo, mentioned in the interactable Tower of Epesimus, Middle, where he is described as an Inuzuman scholar who became a rather successful romance novelist. Mr. Yun may have been a member of the Yun family, a notable family in Liyue who collaborated with the Han family to create the prototype series of weapons. This story was likely inspired by Orlando Innamorato and Orlando Furioso. According to the book's description, its alternative title is Hleobranto Innamorato. Both Orlando and Hleobrand go mad trying to prove their love to a character named Angelica, who hails from a land referring to or based on China, Cathay and Liyue respectively, while another night, Astolfo and Perinheri try to find cures for their madness. The given name Angelica and its male counterpart Angelico derives from the Latin Angelicus, meaning angel, so not far off from Volume 2's meaning of one who is a divine emissary. Other names. Sources. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Ad Astra Abyssosque.